Hello, good to see you again. Welcome to Block 2, Solving Problems with Multiplication and Division, Lesson 10. I'll share my screen. So, in your previous lesson, you learned how to do the formal written method for integers. So, you learned using what some people call the short division method or the bus-stop method of division. So we're going to use some of that knowledge in today's lesson. So today you're going to learn how to do formal written method for dividing decimals. Before we start, please help us grow our global mission to educate children regardless of their economic circumstance. They should be able to have high quality maths education without the high cost. So like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the notification bell so that when new videos are uploaded, you would be notified. Thank you for supporting us. I would like you to do the retrieval practice questions in 3 minutes. This helps you recall the things you have learned and so helps you retain more information by doing retrieval practice questions. So it's a very important aspect of the lesson. All right, assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. This one, you were asked to write the fact family for this bar model. So here you can see that it represents all these calculations. So here, this means 5.7 times 4 is 22.8. And then we can write it the other way around. Remember the word we learned when we do things like this with multiplication, we call it commutative. So 4 times 5.7 is equal to 22.8. We can also write 22.8 divided by 4 is equal to 5.7. And then 22.8 divided by 5.7 is equal to 4. Next, you ask for question 2. A regular hexagon has a side length of 7 centimeter. Work out the perimeter of the hexagon. So a hexagon has, just a minute. So a hexagon has 6 sides. So, and if you recall, to work out the perimeter, we add all the sides. So if we add 7 up to 6 places, it means it's the same thing as doing 7 times 6. Okay. So this could have been written as 7 plus 7 plus 7 all the way up to 6 places. So it's the same thing as 7 times 6. Okay, here, find 3/5 of 45 pounds. First, we need to find 1/5. And then once we've found 1/5, then we can find 3/5, which is just to multiply that by 3. Something else I want you to take note of is whenever you see calculations like this, I know we've done this in our previous lessons, but it's a retrieval practice. So it's important for you to remember things you learned. So let's say you have, 9/20, of any amount, let's say 100. Know the pattern, recognize the pattern. We always divide with the denominator and we multiply by the numerator. So anytime you have a fraction of an amount, you always divide that amount by the denominator and you multiply by the numerator. And that's what we've done here. So 45 divided by 5, and then we multiplied by the numerator. So our answer should be 27. All right, let's do some new learning. So if I give you this problem and say 2.24 divided by 8, how would you approach it? Well, one way to think about it is by thinking about the integer calculation of the decimal calculation we're given. And then when we finish, we'll introduce our decimal back in place. Remember, we used this approach in our previous lessons. So we'll use it again. So we'll say, well, 2.24, why don't we just try 224 divided by 8? Now, we could use our short division or bus stop method for division, do our calculation, and then when we finish, we introduce our decimal back in, because the actual problem we were given was to divide 2.24, not 224. So we're doing this for ease, okay? So that we'll find things easier to do or apply our previous knowledge and then take it a step further to find the actual answer. So now, what we do is we do our division. So remember why we do what we do when we do short division. So if you do not know, why we do this, you can go and watch the previous lesson where we have done short division. Okay, so the reason we're doing this carry is because we're doing exchange. We're exchanging values by reason of our place value chart. So I'm not going to be talking about the exchange that we have done, how we've exchanged, for example, here, how we've exchanged 200s to give us 20 tenths plus the 2 that was here, which gives us 22 tenths. I'm not going to be saying that. By now you should know why we're doing what we're doing. So we'll just follow the process. So we cannot divide 2 by 8. So we'll shift the 2. That's why you have 22 now. So we'll look at it as 22. So 22 divided by 8 is 2. So we can only get 2 groups of 8 from 22. That's what it means. 22 divided by 8 is 2. Now, we know that 2 times 8 is 16. So we definitely have a remainder. And that remainder is 22 minus the 16. Okay? So that is 6. So we shift the 6 and write it next to the 4. Now we have 64. 64 divided by 8 is 8. So our answer of 224 divided by 8 is 28. But is that really our answer? Pause and see whether you will be able to use this knowledge to find the actual answer, thinking about what we did in our previous lesson. All right. We know that the relationship between 2.24 and 224 is to divide by 100. So we need to take our answer to the actual thing that we need. The 8 is the same, so we don't need to do anything. So actually, our answer should be 28 divided by 100, which is 0.28. So by now, you should know how to divide with powers of 10. So you should know why 28 divided by 100 is 0.28. If you don't know this, go and watch the video on how to divide using powers of 10 or multiply using powers of 10, of which 100 is a number or in that group. So, but the question is, could we not have done the calculation like this? Of course we could. So pause the video and have a think. How could you have done the same calculation, maintaining the decimal place just exactly the way it was, without having to do what we did here? All right, we could do the same. It says almost the same thing. The most important thing is to make sure that the decimal points are lined up. That is the most important thing. So we do the same thing. So we carry the 2 because here we cannot divide 8 by 2. So normally I would introduce a 0 here. So when I'm doing my calculations, but it doesn't really matter. So you introduce a 0. So it's going to be 0 point whatever you get. So that is still 2, right? 2 times that is 16. The remainder is going to be 6. Okay, 2 times 8 is 16. The remainder is going to be 6 because 22 minus 16 is 6. We write the 6 next to the 4. 64 divided by 8 is 8. So we get the same answer. All right. And of course, you introduce your 0, which I was talking about. So the answer is 0.28. All right, you've done some learning. What you've learned so far is you should be able to do division of decimals, either thinking about doing the division as their integers, as integers, ignoring the decimals, and then when you finish, you introduce the decimal places back in, or you do the calculation exactly with the decimals, exactly the way it was given to you, but you make sure when you use your short division diagram, you make sure the decimal point line up so that your answer is correct. All right, pause the video and answer questions 1 and 2 in 4 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered questions 1 and 2, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So question 1, you ask, write the division represented by each bar model. So this is the bar model, and that's the division represented there. Okay, so this simply means 14 divided by 5. Yeah. Here, this is the division. Okay, here, what is the same and what is different about the bar models and division that they represent? Well, what is the same? You can see that the bars are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have, 5 divisions. We're dividing by 5. But you can see that the actual value of the bar or the number we're dividing are different. Okay, that is 10 times smaller. And what you should notice is we could use knowledge of things like this to answer questions like this. So for example, you know that 14 divided by 5 is 0.8, 2.8. But here, you now have this number 10 times smaller. And notice how the answer is 10 times smaller. Okay? All right. Question 2. A. Again, this is practicing your short division method. Complete these divisions. All right. And these are the answers. Okay. Pause the video and answer questions 3 and 4 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered questions 3 and 4, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So questions 3, you were simply asked to complete the missing numbers. So this is to help you practice the decimal short division method, where you maintain the decimal, you make sure the decimals line up, and then you just carry on doing the division and practicing getting better at it. Okay. Now, to get this number, I want to discuss this one. This is simply the same thing as multiplying this, because if a number was here and you divided that number to get this, to get the number here, you simply multiply this times that. Okay, so you multiply this, yeah, and 0.923, and that gives you the number. Here, you're simply doing the calculation, you get your numbers, and then you fill the decimal points in. So I'll just discuss this one. So we 8 divided by 3 is 2. Our remainder is 2. So we have 20. 20 divided by 3 is 6. Our remainder is 2. We have 26. Of course, you know that will be 8. It's been done for you. So it's just, doing the calculation now. Your remainder, so is 2. So 27 divided by 3 is 9. Okay, so it's just following the pattern of knowing how to do our short division. Here, question 4, you ask, explain the mistake that has been made in this short division. Okay, in the short division, the decimal point is aligned. It's not, the decimal point should be aligned properly when you do your short division. Yeah, it's misaligned. Yeah. Okay, let's look at a new learning for our second part of the lesson, or second part of our practice questions. If we have a question like this, sometimes you would notice that you will get towards the end of your calculation, but you still have a remainder, so you're going to have to carry on. So I want you to think about that, because we're going to do something when we get to that point, and that is exactly what you need to do when you are doing your short division of decimal numbers. Sometimes your decimals could carry on. You could be asked to do the calculation up to the third decimal place or up to the fourth decimal place. So here, 9 divided by 8 is 1. Our remainder is 1. So we put the 1 next to the 2. 12 divided by 8 is 1. Okay, we can only get 1 8 from 12, one group of 8 from 12. Our remainder is 4. So we write the 4 there. Notice the decimal point is lined up. Okay. Now, 46 divided by 8 is 5. Now, we're going to have a remainder because 8 times 5 is 40. Yeah. 46 minus 40 is 6. So our remainder is 6. So you may be wondering, where do we put that? That is where we need to extend our short division diagram, or what we call the bus stop shelter. You extend it, you put 0, okay, so that you can make use of the remainder. So you put the 6 there. Now 60 divided by 8 is 7. 7 times 8 is 56. So we're trying to work out the remainder. That's why I'm doing this. 60 minus 56 is 4. Where do I put the 4? I need to put more zeros. So I'll put the 4 there. 40 divided by 8 is 5. Okay? There is no longer a remainder, so that is our answer. So our answer is right there, 11.575. Okay, let's look at a new example. When we have calculations like this, did you remember what we did when we did integer division? When we had 2-digit numbers, we thought about using factors of the numbers. So breaking down or decomposing this number into their factors, smaller 1-digit numbers that we could use. Okay, one step, step 2, so on and so forth. So I want you to look at these calculations and see which of the following calculations are equivalent to this, because we're going to be using exactly the same method we used when we did integer division involving 2-digit numbers. So take a look and see, have a think. All right, I'm sure some of you would have spotted it really quickly, because what you did, one thing I used to do when I was younger is, or when I was your age, is I would look at the two factors and say, can I multiply them to get this number? Okay, that's how I break them down. What two factors can I multiply to get 16? It's obvious it has to be these two, but I'm going to use a bar model to explain it. So here, for the first one, to divide by 4 means you split the bar into 4 parts, and then you split it again into 4 parts because you need to divide by 4 again, and then you get 16 parts. So it's actually, so imagine if this bar represented 134.32, we have been able to split it into 16 equal parts, which is what we were asked to do. Now look at this one. If we divide by 2, we're looking at this one now. If we divide by 8, and then we divide by 8 again, we have more than 16 parts. That's not what we've been asked to do. We've been asked to divide the bar into 16 equal parts. This is more than that. Let's look at another one. We divide by 2, and we divide the other 2 parts by 8. Altogether, we have 16 parts. So these two calculations, is obvious, already represent this calculation. So we could use either of them to do this calculation. And the other one, if we divide by 10 and we split each part into 6 parts, it's more than 16. So that's not that doesn't represent the calculation. So when you're given a calculation like this, to summarize, you can split it into 2 steps. So first, you do 132.32 divided by 4. You write the answer that you get on the side, and you take that answer and you divide it by 4 again. Or you could do 134.32 divided by 2. You write that answer on the side, and then you take the answer that you get and divide it by 8. Let's look at solving equations using our knowledge. If we have 9W equal to 5.59.13, this can be represented as a bar model. So this is what it means. So, 9 lots of W will give us 59.13. So what will each W represent? That would be 59.13 divided by 9. And we'll do exactly what we were doing before. So let's do it. So we cannot divide 5 by 9. So we'll skip that, shift the 5 over there. That's 59. 59 divided by 9 is 6 because 9 times 6 is 54. We have a remainder 5. All right. So remember the decimal points have to line up. And then you have 51 divided by 9. That's 5 because 9 times 5 is 45. Our remainder is 6. We put the 6 there. It's now 63. 63 divided by 9 is 7. So now our answer, W, is 6.57. It's now time for you to practice what you've learned. So what you've learned is we've extended our learning, one, to see that when we have to do our division using 2-digit numbers, we can split the calculation into 2 steps or even more steps if we need to do it. So we split the calculation into single-digit numbers that are factors of the 2-digit numbers that we use to do our division. All right. And we also extended our learning to use what we know to do simple equations, which involves doing decimal division. Pause the video and answer question 5 in 4 minutes. All right, assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 5, here are the answers. So mark your work and celebrate your success. So by now, you should know how we do short division, okay? So you draw your bus stop or your short division diagram, and then you do your calculations as usual. All right, pause the video and answer questions 6 and 7 in 4 minutes. So remember what we said about doing these 2-digit calculations, okay? All right, assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. So this one, you could have done it by dividing by 8 and then divide by 2 in the second step, dividing by 4 and then dividing by 4 again in the second step. This one you could divide by 5 and then divide by 5 again. This one you could divide by 7 and then divide by 6. All right. And then this one you divide 13.2 by 4. This you divide 21.24 by 5. Pause the video and answer questions 7, 8, and 9 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. So here you were asked to find 3/8 of 9.2 kilogram. So what that means is you do 9.2 divided by 8, and then whatever you get, you multiply it by 3. That will give you that. But I want to discuss this one. So a shape is made up of a regular octagon, which is this one. Octagon has 8 sides, and a regular pentagon. Pentagon has 5 sides. The octagon has a perimeter of 29.76. So this one, yeah, the octagon has this perimeter, 29.76 meter. And we need to use information from here to find the perimeter of the whole shape, which is everything. So the first thing we do is we know that the perimeter is to add all the sides. Or another way to think about it is 8, because octagon has 8 sides. 8 times, let's call the side we do not know. You know, in maths, we can call it things we do not know. We can use letters to represent them. So if we know this side, then it means we know the side, all the other sides of this shape. And then we can find the perimeter. So 8 times, let's call the side S, side represents S for the octagon, is equal to 29.76. So to get this, we'll do our division. 29.76 divided by 8. So we cannot divide by 2 by 8, so we shift the 2 there. So that's now 29. 29 divided by 8, we'll get 3, because 8 times 3 is 24. All right. 29 minus 24 is 5. So we'll put our decimal point there. We shift the 5 there. 57. So it's now 57. 57 divided by 8 is 8. Because, is 7. Sorry. 8 times 7 is 56. So that's 7. 8 times 7 is 56. 57 minus 56 is 1. So our remainder 1 is there. We'll put it behind the 6. 16 divided by 8 is 2. So we know the length, this place here, is 3.72. So now that we know that each of the side will be 3.72 because they are all equal, so we'll say, well, 3.72 plus 3.72 plus 3.72 plus 3.72 plus 3.72 is the same thing as saying 3.72, times 5. All right. So let's ignore the decimal. I want to apply the things we've learned. So let's ignore the decimal. Let's say we're going to do 372 times 5. Sorry, it's 372. So everything we've learned, we're going to apply it here. So I will ignore the decimal. So 372 times 5. 5 times 2 is 10. I'll write 0. I'll carry 1. 5 times 7 is 35, plus that one I carried is 6. Just a minute. All right, let's carry on. We'll see what's wrong. I think something is wrong. So it's 35 plus that one I carried is 6. 5 times 3 is 15. So we have, oh, I know. Here is the mistake I'm making. We were told to find the perimeter of the whole shape. Sorry. So we don't need to do this. Okay. Once we know that it is 3.72, so the perimeter will be, just a minute, let's count the side lengths and then we'll multiply by that number. So we have our perimeter will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So our perimeter will be 3.72, which is the side length, which is also equal to this one here, times 11. So 3.72 times 11. Okay. All right. So this is the calculation you need to do. I'm not going to do it because I don't want the video to be too long. So first, you do 372. You use your long multiplication method. If you don't know how to do this, you can visit our video where we did multiplication, long multiplication. So you do your multiplication, and then when you finish, you divide your answer by 100 because we were actually given 3.72. So you do your multiplication. When you finish, you're going to get that answer. Okay? All right. Pause the video and answer question 10 in 2 minutes. All right, assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. So you're asked, 32 children are going on a school trip to a theme park. The total cost of the tickets is that £360. The coach hire costs £175. How much should each child pay to go to the trip? Show your full method. So this one, what you need to do, I'll just discuss it, and then it will be up to you to check your method to make sure you've done it properly. So there are 32 children who are going on the school trip. The total cost of the tickets is £360. So ticket cost is £360. Ticket cost. The coach hire costs £175. So we need to add that. So we get the total cost. So that's 5. 7 plus 6 is 13. So we write 3. We carry 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus the 1 is 5. Now we want to find out what each child will pay. So our final step will be 5, 3, 5 divided by 32. Now this calculation can be done in 2 steps. All right, so you could do 535 divided by 4, and then next step you divide by 8, because 8 times 4 is 32. All right, or you can do this is a quick way to do it. So 535, or you can divide by 8 first before you divide by 4, and then you find that each child will pay this. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson. So what have we learned so far? We have learned that you can do decimal division by, first you can think of the division as if they are integers, and then when you finish you introduce your decimal place back in, or you can just do it normally, making sure the decimal points line up when you do the divisions using your short division method. And we applied our learning to solving word problems, and we also applied our learning to solving equations which involved decimal numbers. So you've done a great deal of learning in this lesson. Until next time, take really good care of yourself, and bye-bye.